Welcome to the Triple Threat Podcast. We are so excited to have you here with us again today. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. I am DJ Shockley. On the other side of the mic, my man Scotty D is here. Before we get to Scotty D, we got some really important news. The people at Snappy Home Services are now a great sponsor of the Triple Threat Podcast. They provide electrical, plumbing, heating, and air services to all of Metro Atlanta. Hey man, listen to this. They got lifetime parts and labor warranties. You can't beat lifetime. Locally owned and operated, they support numerous high school sports programs. They help everybody. You got to give them a call. If you do, it's 770-424-SNAP, or check them out on the website at snappyservices.com. Snappy Electric Plumbing, Heating, and Air. And this is the best part about it. They're giving $75 off your next appointment. All you got to do is use the code Triple Threat. All right, Snappy makes home happy. And Scotty D, you've actually used Snappy before, right?
Yeah, I've been a customer for several years. We just had a HVAC unit put in last week.
Nice.
We had another one put in the year before, our other one. I've used their electric. I've used their plumbing.
Yeah.
They're professional. From the people that come out to counsel you on what you need to buy, what's best, how to improve your air quality in your house. They're great. The people in the office that handle appointments and financing and all that kind of stuff, they're great. Yeah, and then their technicians are pros.
Cool.
They wear the things on their shoes to keep their feet clean in your house. They keep where they're wearing masks right now.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend them. Give them a call. They're great people.
So we appreciate Snappy being the official sponsor of the Triple Threat Podcast. Check them out, man. Check them out. Snappy makes me home happy. All right, let's jump right into some of the good stuff going on this week in the world of sports. How about this? Big Ten football is back. Big Ten put out a nice little announcement on Wednesday that they're going to be back playing football. Start date tentative October 23rd, 24th. They're looking to play 8 games in 8 weeks so they can still have an opportunity to play in the college football playoffs. And then at the end of the year, if your team is not playing in the college football playoff or playing on championship weekend, there's an extra game that you can play. So I love that part about it. What do you think about the Big Ten saying they're back and they're playing ball?
Well, it's really nice of them to come around and do this after they tried to kill college football for everybody.
Oh man, they weren't gonna kill it for everybody.
They were trying to.
Nah.
They were trying to be. Look, we'll do this, and everybody else will follow.
Yeah.
That's what they tried.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12 said okay, and then everybody else like nah. But how do you feel about an 8-0 Ohio State team being included in the playoffs with a 10-0 Clemson?
I don't mind it.
10-0 Alabama.
I don't
10-0
mind.
Oklahoma.
If you play 7-8 games, man, I think that's enough sample size to see.
I agree.
If
I've
a
just
team
heard it
is good enough to
questioned.
play,
Yeah, I've just heard people question, but I agree.
I mean, you go win your conference championship. I mean, they deserve to be in it. I mean, and who knows what's going to happen, man. I mean, hopefully the season does continue and they don't have a postponement or anything like that. So I'm glad, man. For one, I'm glad for the kids who get an opportunity to play. The kids getting a chance to go out there. A lot of kids who this may have been their last opportunity to play major college football,
absolutely.
and now they get the opportunity to go out and play. And I love all the protocols that are being put in place. They got some really stringent protocols that are in place. So big kudos to the Big Ten for making it tough with the protocols, but also saying, hey, let's get these kids back on the field and let's go play.
Yeah.
All right. Last week we had some major upsets in college football in week 2. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns upset Iowa State 31-14. Arkansas State beat Kansas State 35-31. And Georgia Tech. I'm going to do it. I'm an equal opportunity guy. So Georgia Tech gets a win over Florida State in Tallahassee 16-13 behind true freshman quarterback Jeff Sims. I was surprised, man. I'm not going to lie. I mean, shout out to my man Tony Thorne, man. He's a big Georgia Tech guy who is always on me about the Yellow Jackets, and they're going to be on the way. They're about to be taking over. Clemson's next on the radar. But shout out Georgia Tech, man. That was a big win by them going down to Tallahassee. Were you surprised with the Yellow Jackets going down there and getting a win with a freshman quarterback?
No. In fact, Adam, who owns Snappy Home Services, is a big Georgia Tech guy. And
really?
I left his house early. I left his office actually Saturday morning.
Adam, I didn't know that, Adam. I didn't know you were a Yellow Jacket. I did not know. But it's all good, man. I'm giving the Jackets some love.
I told him,
I
said, I think they can win this. Now, it took it took a lot of effort for them to win because the freshman quarterback, who I think looked really nice.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
He also threw 2 interceptions deep in Florida State territory that he just didn't see the guy. But that's experience, I think. That's just experience. You can see the talent. You can see the talent.
Georgia Tech, man, they got some new look dudes out there, man. The athletes look a little different now with Coach Collins there. And Georgia Tech's looking to make some noise early, man, in this Collins era. So we'll see what happens going forward. All right, this week, the big showdown in the ACC is Louisville versus Miami. You got Mikael Cunningham, who threw for 343 last week and 3 tubs in their win. And then you got De'Aaron King, who transferred over from Houston, and now he played really well last week. So that's going to be a big showdown in the ACC coming out of there. Other news around college football, Kirby Smart says the QB competition will come down to the first game. Anybody will not know until that first game. And I actually just found out today.
Oh, what'd you find out?
I'm calling the Georgia to Arkansas game. So
yeah.
I'll be there to figure out who's going to run out there and play quarterback for the Dogs. That'll be interesting between DeJuan Mathis and JT Daniels. So
you can't pick that game then. We can't have a little pick contest on that one. All right.
Cannot pick that game. All
right, Herb Street.
Last thing we got in college football, Ed O this week said his play. Oh no. Yeah. I'm going to let my man Scotty D do his Edo impression of what he said this week about his players and COVID-19.
Most of us already had COVID, but when we took some gumbo and got rid of it, and we're gonna opt out, but we're gonna go up there and go Tigers.
Bro, did you say y'all took some gumbo?
Yeah,
and got
that's
back
the cure.
Out there?
That's the cure.
Gumbo cure all.
Yeah.
Gumbo cure COVID-19.
Yeah.
What?
In Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge. All right. So Edo said he had tons of players on his team that had contracted the virus, and hopefully they don't get again. And he thinks everybody be good to go for the season going forward. That's the take on college football. A lot going on. Going to be an even bigger week this week, and we'll have more to talk about next week.
Football.
Let's jump into the NBA, man. NBA.
Yeah.
There will not be a battle for LA this year because the Clippers had it was the most ridiculous collapse. I'm saying the other C word, choke that I've seen in a long time. When you're up 3-1 and you lose, Denver, give them a lot of credit. Murray, Jokic, all those guys balling. But the Clippers are not going to be the best team in LA, and nobody will ever say now the Clippers give LeBron a run and who runs LA. Everybody knows who runs LA now is the Lakers. Were you shocked that not only lost in Game 7, but they got blew out?
I mean, after seeing Games 5 and 6, I mean, I wouldn't call it a shock, but let me ask you a trivia question. Do you know the only NBA coach to lose three 3-1 deficits?
I'm just going to go ahead and say Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers? Yeah, that's tough on Doc, man, because I like Doc.
I do too.
Dang, that's tough right there. I mean, with all the talent they got on that team, there's no way. I just knew it was going to be LA in that finals right there in the West. But it will be for naught.
I'm glad, though, man, because I love watching Denver.
I know.
They've been fun.
I know. Nuggets win 104-89. My man Jokic had a triple-double before fourth quarter started, so they were on a mission. So,
hey, let me ask you a question.
The most ridiculous choke I ever seen.
Who's the biggest disappointment? The Clippers after all the moves they made in the offseason,
right?
Or the Bucks, who have had the best record in the league for 2 straight years? Which is a bigger disappointment?
That's a good one. I'm going to go with the Clippers, man. I mean, when you go and you trade and you go and get Paul George, you got Kawhi, you got the Nat and Pat Beverly, you got Lou Will. I mean, you got a lot of talent on that team.
Experience, yeah.
And experience, and you don't make it to the conference finals.
After being up 3-1.
Come on, Clips.
Yeah, that's reek.
That's tough right there. That's tough. So, hey, man, better luck next year, Clippers. We'll see. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics goes into OT, and Jimmy B comes up big again. They win 117-114 in overtime, and I might have saw one of the most ridiculous blocks ever at the end of a game. Jason Tatum goes in and he wants to yam it. And Bam Adebayo says, no, sir. No, sir. And that is a wrap for the Boston Celtics as the Heat take game one. Boston was pretty much in control of that ball game, and the Heat end up coming back and getting game one, which is, man, that was a big-time win for them in game one.
You saw
was
that block? Crazy.
Yeah, that block was
I don't think I've ever seen – I've seen people, reject what looked like a sure dunk. But, man – I think that ball was halfway in the rim
when he finally kind of bent backwards and
got it back.
I mean,
oh my gosh,
that was dumb. That was dumb. Before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody understands we have a great guest today. And when I say great, I mean legendary guest. My man Danny Wuerffel was going to join us here shortly. Yes, the Danny Wuerffel from Florida Gators who won the Heisman Trophy. Scotty D has a freaking picture signed by Danny Wuerffel over here. Oh my goodness.
Don't feel left out.
Wow. Danny Wuerffel, see, for the people who can't see it, he's holding up a framed picture of Danny Wuerffel that's signed, and then he's got a picture of me that's signed, just in regular not framed at all. You can tell he doesn't really care.
It says, it's to my son,
It is. As guys, you may not know, Scotty D is a big Florida fan, so the opportunity to talk to my man Danny Wuerffel today is going to be pretty cool, man. Talk about those Heisman days, talking about those crazy teams he's on, and all the great stuff he's doing now once he's left the NFL. Let's jump into the NFL, talking about a guy who played NFL. This week we saw some great matchups. We saw Tampa Bay take on the Saints. We saw, I thought, was Brady, might have been Jameis still playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady threw a couple picks in that ball game. He struggled a little bit. And you saw something that you said you thought was pretty interesting about what Bruce Arians was talking about, huh?
Well, he didn't have a problem in his press conference saying that, calling Brady to task, saying that, I don't think he called him out. He just said, look, we expect Brady. Yeah. Brady knows we expect, Tom knows we expect better.
Yeah.
And I guess everybody's blowing up about this, but he took criticism from Belichick, right?
For sure.
Maybe, Belichick didn't do anything in the media, but, he took criticism. So I don't think that's a problem. He may just need to get his head in the right spot to take different kinds of criticism. I like Bruce Arians a lot.
Yeah, I like Bruce too, man. It's gonna be. They're gonna get better, man. It's early in the season. They didn't have a full off season. They're still trying to learn each other. So
yeah,
Brady and Tampa, I think, are still gonna be pretty good. Saints got a big win, but it looks like they're gonna be out. They got the Saints. Saints play the Raiders on Monday Night Football, and who's out is Mike Thomas. Hurt his ankle late in that ball game, and looks like he may be out for a couple of weeks. So the Saints will be down. Staying in the NFC South, the Falcons lose to the Seahawks on Sunday. Russell Wilson came in and had a MVP style of game. Falcons lose 38-25. Matt throws for 450 yards on 50-some attempts. Gurley got his first touchdown as a Falcon. The Falcons also had 3 receivers go over 100 yards. So a lot to be excited about, but not losing the ball game was good. Other games, Rams beat the Cowboys 20-17. Steelers over the Giants, and the Titans beat the Broncos on Monday night. Tonight, we got a pair of number 1 picks squaring off on Thursday night football. Bengals versus Browns. It's a snoozer. It's a snoozer. No?
I'm probably competitive.
Who you like?
I probably have to go with the Browns.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Joe Burrow played all right last week.
He
man.
did, but
they had a chance to win, man. They called a little PI on my boy AJ Green over there.
I think Burrow's probably in the end of the day going to be a better quarterback than Baker, but
yeah, I
like the Browns. I mean, I'm surprised they got smoked like they did, but they played a good team.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. One more game I want to talk about, the Patriots versus Seahawks on Sunday night. We get to see Cam going against Russ. That ought to be a very interesting game. The Seahawks, man, I saw those guys live and in person. That defense is real.
Yeah, let me pick that one.
I don't know if Cam expects to be running around 15, 16 times on that defense. They are fast and physical. Who you got?
Oh, I think Seattle's definitely going to win that at home.
Okay.
With the 12th man.
Yeah.
And I mean 12 people in the stands.
I was just going to say, ain't nobody going to be there.
12 security guards there.
Another game, man, I like to see, man. The Ravens versus Texas, man. If they can get Deshaun some help on the outside, they got a chance. But the Ravens are tough, man. That defense is still legit. A lot of good games coming up this weekend in the world of the National Football League. And next, Scotty D, you all right?
Yes.
You're going to be all right. Fanboy on me. Look at it, man. He loves some freaking Florida Gators. All right, next coming up, My man, the Heisman Trophy winner, Danny Wuerffel, joins the Triple Threat Podcast. And welcome back to the Triple Threat Podcast. I am extremely excited to talk to my next guest, who I've known for a little bit now, and I'm sure a lot of people know this guy. My man, Danny Wuerffel, 96 Heisman Trophy winner, works for Desire Street Ministries now. The executive director, does so many great things in the community. But Danny, man, how are you doing? And I appreciate you joining the show.
And I appreciate it. It's good to hear your voice. It's good to be talking about some football, and happy to be with you guys today.
For sure, man. Tell the people where you're at right now, what's going on, because I know we were talking before we started the interview about some stuff that was going on right now, and kind of where you're at, just in case it goes a little in and out.
I hear you. Yeah, well, me and one of my sons, my whole family, we live in Atlanta.
Right.
And me and one of my sons came down to Florida to visit my mom. And we're in Destin, and we're caught up in this hurricane right now, Sally. So we've been pulling things up out the water, and lost power, and I went down to check on my dad. He's got a pontoon boat at his dock, and the water was so high it just floated away.
No way!
So we had to go get his boat, and
oh wow.
So anyway, we're doing fine. Everybody's safe, healthy, but the power's out, and but hopefully our signal will last and we can have a good conversation.
For sure. Well, blessings to your family, man. Hope everybody continues to stay safe, man, and wish them well for everybody down there. Obviously, a lot of people know about you, know your story. Obviously, won the Heisman, doing a lot of great things. I mean, played at University of Florida, played in the National Football League. Now you're doing a lot of things with Desire Street Ministries. But let's go back to the early years. Let's talk about the Danny Wuerffel growing up. I mean, I was looking up some stuff. You moved around a little bit. You lived in South Carolina, Spain, Nebraska, Colorado, before you finally, ended up in Florida and went to Fort Walton Beach High School. Talk about the early years of growing up and having to move around.
Yeah, my dad was in the Air Force, so every couple of years we moved. And, as a kid, it was frustrating because every time you kind of got your friends, you kind of found your place on your team.
Right.
You have to up and go. So I remember a lot of times, just struggling through that. But a couple things. First of all, sports really helped me because, wherever I went, I got on a new team and made friends pretty quickly. And so sports really helped me through that. And the other thing that, looking back, I really am thankful for is, when you live in so many different parts of the country and parts of the world, you realize that people think differently.
Right.
People do things differently. And it's not wrong. It's just different. And, to be able to recognize that a lot of people approach life very differently and appreciate that and learn to enjoy that and learn from it, as opposed to sort of get set in your own ways, which is pretty easy when you're in one place your whole life.
For sure. And then you go to Fort Walton Beach High School, and you were staying out in football and basketball. I didn't know you had some hoop game. Obviously, you did pretty well playing the quarterback position. But what kind of b-ball skills did you have, bro?
Well, I appreciate that word standout. That's probably a stretch. I was pretty good at basketball in junior high. I remember in ninth grade, we had to fill out a goal sheet for our life, and one of my goals was to get a college scholarship. And I thought it might be in basketball, but as I got into high school, I clearly became a better football player. There's more 6'2" quarterbacks than 6'2", power forwards playing. So I'm okay. I always could shoot the ball pretty well, and I hustled around a bunch, but I wasn't a great basketball player.
All right, so you led your team to a 4A state championship, and then you also were state high school player of the year. I mean, you were the top high school football recruit in the state of Florida. I think it turned out pretty well. Talk about those high school days, man, and what was it about, you're growing up that made you into the player you were, to be the best player in the state of Florida coming out?
Well, I mean, I think to fully answer that question, I don't know the answer, but some of the things that come to mind, is, I had sort of an insane competitive spirit, and I worked really hard. I did all those sort of things that you've got to do, and I was blessed with a smart brain and accurate hand-eye coordination and some athletic ability. So all that stuff. But the things that you don't control. Before we moved to Florida, my dad was supposed to get moved to Minot, North Dakota.
Oh.
And instead of going and being like maybe a high school ice fisherman, I get sent to Florida, where it's like a powerhouse football place. And then I happened to be in a place where we get a coach that came in my junior year that was just unbelievably talented, that created an offense that fit. We had the right players. So it was just one of those things where everything came together, and a lot of it was really out of my control, and just makes me so grateful. But yeah, we had a great team. We weren't the biggest, we weren't the strongest, but we there's something special about us, and we won the state championship. And probably one of my favorite all-time memories is we played at the Florida Stadium at the Swamp for the state championship.
Oh, nice.
And being on that field afterwards, hugging friends, holding the trophy, crying, that's like one of my favorite moments ever.
Oh, man, that's pretty cool. And I was looking up some stuff. I said, oh, man, me and Danny got a lot in common, man. We both were players in our particular state, top players. You were 1 and 2. I was 1 and 2 coming out. And then I got to the last part where it said you graduated valedictorian. That was not me.
That wasn't you.
So I said, Danny's got me there. You mentioned that smart part of it. So I thought that was pretty funny. When
Nice.
You were thinking about choosing colleges, was it dead set on I'm going to be a Gator, or was it a real battle that there's a chance you can go somewhere else?
Definitely a battle. My older sister was at Florida State.
Ooh.
We lived closer to Florida State. I really appreciated Bobby Bowden. I thought he was a great man. And I took a visit to Alabama and really respected Gene Stallings and thought I was going to go there. And then I, visited Florida and loved everything about that. And so I was really torn, even to the last night of my decision, what to do. But at the end, there were two things that stuck. One was, as a quarterback, to play for Steve Spurrier clearly was a great opportunity. Yeah. And then secondly, I said, if I wasn't a football player, if I was a student, which of these schools would I go to? And I chose Florida. It's a great academic institution. In fact, it just got ranked the number 6 public university in the country.
Wow! So
it's a great school, and I'm super proud to have graduated from there.
Well, everybody listening, I'm sure they know that I'm a Georgia guy. Danny's a Florida guy, so he had to make sure to let everybody know how good Florida is right now. So I'm sure everybody get a lot of laughs out of that. You go to University of Florida, obviously, 93, your first year. You get there. You guys won 4 straight consecutive SEC titles. But let's go back to 93. I was reading the game versus Kentucky. You and Terry Dean, 7 interceptions between the two of you guys. What was going on, Danny?
I don't know, man. Terry went out and threw a bunch of interceptions. I was the backup, so he put me in the second quarter. And on my first play, I overthrew a middle route, so that was interception. So I was in for one play and I got benched. And then Terry played into the third quarter and into the fourth quarter and ended up throwing his 4th interception.
Oh, wow.
So he put me in. We scored a touchdown, got a little momentum, and then I threw an interception, and then I threw another interception. And so we're going into the last drive of the game. And actually, I was telling my son this. My son had a frustrating moment on the soccer field, and we were talking about your attitude. And right. He was kind of on the bench. He was a little bit discouraged and had his head down. And I said, well, that moment right there at the end of this game, what Coach Spurrier would say is he looked at the other quarterback and he was sitting on the bench with his head down, and I was standing right next to him with my head up, ready to go. So he put me in because he had no idea who was going to put in on the last drive. But because I was standing there with my head up, he happened to put me in.
Oh,
we go down, and I threw a touchdown with 8 seconds left. And
to my man Chris Doring.
Yes,
that's my man.
Our boy Chris caught it, and yeah, what a day.
Oh man, that is fabulous. You know what? One thing that I love to hear are the stories, but also the things that helped you grow into the man you are. And we have tons of kids and tons of just individuals, period, who listen to the podcast and look for things that they can get out of it, especially when things aren't going their way. And in that particular spot, things weren't going your way. You talk about your son having frustrating moments. What are some of those life lessons that you have learned over all your years of playing that has really helped you when you're in a tough or a rut moment where you got to find a way to get yourself out of it?
Well, one is it's a matter of, can you just get up and keep going?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you break your leg or you tear ACL, you may have to lay on the ground and they carry you out on a stretcher, but not just physically, but emotionally. Can you just keep going? And I think, resilience and perseverance is a trait that's not high commodities these days. We something doesn't go our way and we get upset, we're entitled, and then we tank.
Right.
And so I think the ability to just get back up is such an important thing. And then I also think, football is a great sort of microcosm of life, and football and life are really a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about you. It's not just about what you need or want in your statistics. You sort of thrive or you suffer, not just by yourself. And so the ability to interact with others, to be a good teammate, every day I tell my son, there's 3 things we're looking at when you play soccer in this game. 1, how well you do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care. But what's your attitude and what's your effort?
I love it.
Is your attitude, are you being a good teammate? And are you giving it your best? And I think if you do those things, you have a great shot.
Man, I love that. Attitude and effort. I mean, that goes beyond sports. That's in everyday life. So that's a true tale of, if anybody's going through stuff, attitude and effort can take you a long way. All right, let's jump into that 95 season. The job is yours. Dean is gone. Of course, you guys go undefeated. You guys rip off and play a great year. But I want to go back to that Tennessee game where you guys were down 30-14 in that game. You end up throwing 6 tubs in that game and bring you all the way back. What do you remember about that ball game and possibly Tennessee ruining your season?
Well, what I remember recently was my son had never watched me play probably 5-6 years ago. So I said, hey, what do you want to watch? And I saw it. We had this VCR tape, if you know how old we are.
VCR?
And it was,
you actually still have a VCR player?
I don't, but I got the tape.
Okay.
But my parents did. This is several years ago. So I go, hey, your dad beat Peyton Manning. He said, what? So let's watch the game. Well, he watched the first half, and we were down 30-14, and he left. He's like, Dad, you really weren't that good. So we hung in there. We it clicked. We were struggling, and all of a sudden it clicked, and we just scored, I think, 6 straight touchdowns or 7, whatever, and just really, really took it to him. That was a big turning point too for my life. I think Sports Illustrated.
This was an amazing story. When I saw this, I saw Sports Illustrated was there to put Peyton on the cover, but because you balled out so good, they put you on the cover. I mean, how cool is that?
Yep. And I'm still signing handfuls of them every week.
Oh man, that is pretty cool right there. I mean, getting your first major national attention, whooping up on Peyton, man, that's pretty cool right there. All right, 96 season, the big year. Going into this season, did you have any idea of how good you guys could be, or that you could even possibly win the Heisman Trophy?
I think at that point we were all pretty believers. My junior year, we were undefeated, and we lost to Nebraska for the national championship, and I was 3rd in the Heisman voting my junior year. So I think there was a lot of high expectations. We were ranked number 1, and so we definitely believed. And we had a lot of injuries, especially on the offensive line, that really hurt us as the year went through. But we were able to pull through it. And, probably the most memorable thing about that season for me is we were number 1 our last game of the season playing Florida State, and they beat the crap out of us. My dad said I got knocked down 32 times, and there was like 8 or 9 late hits that they didn't call. And so, you lose a game at the end of the season, you're almost for sure out of the hunt for the national title.
Right.
But several things happened, that we couldn't control. One, Nebraska was number 1, lost to Texas. And then we beat Alabama, so they fell back. And then Arizona State was undefeated, and they lost to Ohio State in the bowl. And so all these things happened that gave us a chance in a rematch against Florida State in the Sugar Bowl for the national title. And, we recovered. Back to what we said earlier. Everything seemed lost. We lost the game. We're out of the hunt, but we hung in there. We got our act together. We rallied. We beat Alabama. We beat Florida State bad, and
52-20 bad, yeah.
And won the first national championship for Florida. So just an incredible memory.
And if people don't remember the type of players that was on that team, guys like Fred Taylor, Riedel Anthony, Ike Hilliard, Jacques Graham, you guys had dudes galore on that football team. And I would have loved to play quarterback then as well. Talk about the opportunity to win probably the most prestigious award in college football, which is the Heisman Trophy, and what that meant for you as well as for, your legacy as a Gator.
Well, I think, at the time, so much was happening. And, when I actually won the Heisman, it's right before the bowl game for the national title. Yep. And then right after that, there's the draft and there's the NFL and there's so much going on. And I remember Jerry Spurrier is Coach Spurrier's wife, and she came up to me the night that I won the Heisman. And she said, Danny, she goes, you have no idea what this is going to mean. And as your life goes on, you'll understand it better. And I didn't really know what she meant, but it certainly proved to be true. Someone could win a Nobel Peace Prize and they'd still be introduced as the former Heisman Trophy winner. It's it's this iconic thing that sticks with you everywhere, more than really any other thing I think you could experience at that age of your life. And, for me, it's just been an incredible opportunity and platform. And I think the question is how, whatever we've been gifted, whatever God's given us, whatever blessings or privileges we have, how do we use those or how do we steward those, not just for ourselves, but for others. And it's been a great asset in our work at Desire Street and all the things we try to do to help other people.
Wow. Amazing. I don't think a lot of people can understand what it's like to win the Heisman, but also understand what the things you had to go through to get there. Before we get out of the college realm, I know you get this question all the time, but you got to have at least one or two good Steve Spurrier stories. I tell you one that he always gave us at Georgia. When he went to South Carolina, he would always say, I love to play Georgia early because they're going to have 4 or 5 guys suspended, so we got a chance. He always ragged us. So I know you got at least a couple stories about Steve Spurrier, whether it's in game or out of game, that are pretty good.
Man, yeah, there are many stories. Probably my favorite is when I was young, a freshman. It was before the Kentucky game, and I went in and we were throwing a corner route. I threw the ball as he broke, and the receiver, I felt like, cut the route short. He was kind of flat coming out of his break, so I overthrew him. It was intercepted, and I was wondering, if Coach Spurrier would have seen it from my perspective, and then, of course, he'd have been mad at the receiver, or if he was just going to be mad I threw an interception. So I get to the sideline, and he says, Danny, don't worry, my man. It's not your fault. And so I was like, oh, and he goes, it's my fault for putting you in there. So that's one of my favorite stories. He tries to say he didn't say that, but he said that plenty.
That is classic. I love the way you try to talk like him, too. That is pretty funny right there. Spurrier is absolutely one of the best coaches to ever coach at the collegiate level. So playing for him, I'm sure, was pretty cool. All right, let's move on. Now you move on from college. You've done everything you could do in college. You leave with over 10,000 yards, 114 touchdown passes. Your senior year, 39 touchdowns. You're about to get drafted. You get drafted to the Saints. What was it like to get drafted, but also get drafted and go to New Orleans?
It was a great thing for me. It's in the South. That was where we had just won the national championship at the Superdome. Mike Ditka was the coach, and so I was just super, super excited just with his legacy and the iconic figure. And so, a lot of anticipation and hope, but it definitely did not turn out. I was hoping to be the first guy like Drew Brees was to lead him to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But that didn't happen. We were 6-10, 6-10, and 3-13, and they fired Ditka, fired the players. They even fired the little dog who would run out on the field and get the tee after they had a little dog.
Got rid of the dog?
Fetch monster, and he never missed. He was like 100 for 100, and they benched him too. So, it was tough, definitely tough experience. But I loved the city, loved being there. That's where I got involved with Desire Street Ministries, and even though I went and played, after that with several other teams, New Orleans really became the home and the heart of where we lived and served.
Oh, dang, that's where I want to go next. Talk about Desire Street and how you got involved. Obviously, you got involved while you were with the Saints, and then you ended up coming back after you left the Saints and got involved with Desire Streets. I know it's something that's near and dear to you. I've actually been involved with the Desire Cup, which goes on between the Georgia-Florida week. You heard I said it right, Georgia-Florida week. But talk about Desire Street Ministries for a minute and what it's about and how you became affiliated with Desire Street Ministries.
Yeah, well, it started as a small organization in New Orleans in the 9th Ward on Desire Street. So that's where the name came from. And it was one of the off and on the worst ranked neighborhoods in the country by housing and urban development. And it had the second largest public housing project. And a guy from Georgia moved there, Mo Leverett, and founded this small organization and started serving kids and had a vision for just growing it. And I was just blown away to hear about that. I remember going into the neighborhood the first time, and I saw this really old, looked like a bombed out building from World War II, this old project building that certainly was vacant and should have been condemned. And then as I'm looking at this building thinking, why is it even still up? I see a girl walk out holding a doll and realize, wait, no, someone lives there? Wow. And, it's not too far from the Superdome. And it's like, I just began to realize as amazing and blessed as we are in our country and as many opportunities that we have, there are just different places, pockets of poverty and different people that just didn't have the same opportunities I did. Right. And so I wanted to make a difference. And over our time there, we started a school. We started a housing program to help people get housing. We helped people get jobs. We started a medical clinic. And the goal was to see that neighborhood see some transformation and then also help other neighborhoods experience similar things. And, what I realized in that was that so many of the people that are serving in these types of neighborhoods are really struggling because it's such hard work. Right. And many of them are burning out. So what Desire Street has become over the past several years is now we're an organization that serves leaders that live and work in under-resourced neighborhoods. And so we've helped start several schools and grow them. We've helped start several medical clinics and community centers and after-school programs and housing programs. And it's just we've been really dialed in probably in 25 neighborhoods since the original in New Orleans. And our goal for the next 5 years is to develop 20 more neighborhoods in the next 5 years.
Wow, that is amazing work. And I think the things you're doing now in the community, I think really outweighs anything that has happened on the field because you're helping so many different people. And I remember, we'll talk about Desire Cup in 1 minute. I was at the Desire Cup, which is a golf tournament that you have every year down at TPC Sawgrass. And the first time I got the chance to hear LaTanya Gates Boston, who is, a part of Paul Kids, and you have a lot to do with that. Just talk about that relationship and how that has grown to, I mean, it's amazing what's going on there at Paul Kids with LaTanya, and you're a big part of that.
Yep. So this is a ministry called Paul Kids. It's out on formerly, Bankhead Highway, but now Donnelly Hollowell and Grove Park. Yep. And LaTanya is just an amazing woman who started a ministry there and is serving kids initially primarily and then families. And we came alongside and helped her kind of develop her team and some of the resources, and have supported her over the years. And, just recently they got another building and have turned it into a food distribution center. As you know, there's a lot of food shortages, and with schools closed, kids aren't having access to good food. And so they're distributing thousands of meals to their neighbors. And it's just an incredible service that they're providing. And, our goal is to help someone like LaTanya not be there for 5 years, but to be there for 20 or 30, if that's what she's called to do. And yeah, she's a great leader on the west side of Atlanta.
Yeah, for anybody who lives in Atlanta, I mean, it's worth going by and seeing what it's about. LaTanya is an awesome and amazing woman. I've met her a couple times myself, so the things you guys are doing there are beyond incredible. Let's talk about Desire Cup, man. Desire Cup is obviously a really cool and fun environment and tournament that you put on every year. Talk about expectations going into this year and, how it has grown over the years.
Yeah, this will be our 10th one, and it's been a super fun event. We've done it at different locations, and Coach Dooley comes most years. Coach Spurrier's been coming. We've had Herschel and Emmett and Tebow and a lot of the celebrities from the different schools. And then, of course, it's a competition, a golf tournament between the two. And it's real fun.
It's always a competition, right?
There's always a competition. And so it's been really fun. This is our 10th year. We're doing it at Sea Island this year.
Oh,
and,
nice.
It's a little challenging with all the COVID stuff and that sort of thing. So we're still pushing through, and we're excited to have our event the 29th and 30th. And one thing that we're really pushing, we have a special opportunity to participate that's called the 19th hole. And what that is, it's a way for anybody that can't attend to support the event. And so we're really asking this year that they're trying to really spread that word and have as many people as possible participate through the 19th hole. And you can go to our website, desirestreet.org, and you look up the cup, and there's a way to participate. We're trying to, probably make up for what'll be some lost revenue in our fundraisers just because of attendance and different things that are going to make it harder this year. But hopefully that 19th hole will really help us get the funds we need.
Nice. Desirestreet.org. If you didn't hear that, check that out for sure. It's definitely doing some great things. And over the years, Danny, I know you always mention this. The team that usually wins the Desire Cup usually wins the game on the field. Is that still true to form?
Yeah, it was more true to form for a while, and it was a pitch that we thought was a good one, but it hasn't played out. There was actually a lot of accusations that as the executive director, I was skewing the count because Florida won several in a row, but Georgia won last year, so everybody's back to believing it's fair. And
I think I was a part of that noise of skewing because it just made no sense. I think because you guys always waited till the Georgia guys put all their scores in, and then you guys put your scores in. I'm just saying. That's what I saw from afar,
That's what you saw. One question I have is we talked about my entire college career, but we never ever talked about the Florida-Georgia rivalry. But you've been such a good host. Let's just move on.
You just had to get the Florida-Georgia part in there just to switch it back around, which is, man. My man Scotty D's over here. He's loving this.
What was your record against Florida?
Hey, let's move on. All right, let's move on, Danny. We don't need to talk about that right now. Okay? Yeah. Let's move on. Hey, man, before we get out of here, man, I want to ask you about your Gators, man. This year, Dan Mullen's come in, and he's got the double-digit wins last couple of years. Kyle Trask came in and played really well last year in lieu of Felipe Franks going down. Now he's at Arkansas. What are your expectations for this Florida team, and can they be the new dog in the East and, win an SEC East? That hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah, well, we're obviously very excited about Mullen. He has really been impressive as a coach. I think he's got all the tools to be just elite. And so the first couple of years were great. I think our team will be improved. I think our offensive line will be improved. That was sort of a weak spot for us last year. And so, I'm a big fan of Kyle Trask. I think he's super smart and accurate. Emory Jones is a great quarterback as well. That'll get some playing. So I'm very optimistic. I think, it's always bad to have too high of expectations. And it creates a lot of suffering in our lives when we expect too much all the time. So I'm always tempered a bit, but I really am excited. I think also this year will be a very interesting year. And I think, always leadership is important. Having a coach that's a good leader, not just a good football coach, and also having some good leaders on the team. But I think this year, a big advantage will go to the team that's able to manage the unpredictability of the COVID. You may have some players at times that are going to get quarantined. You know, there's the schedules. We're not playing. We're playing. You know, with some of these different conferences. So I think that it'll be a great opportunity to, you know, plus, you know, if you think back to when you're playing, you know, there's an additional responsibility this year to sort of be careful about where you go as a person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you get it, you could ruin your team.
Yeah.
And now, you know, if you got 100 18 to 22-year-old young men,
man,
that's going to be hard to manage. But if you got some great leadership that's keeping track of people and really motivating people, that can make a big difference. And so I think we'll see who handles that the best, and that'll be an extra advantage in this year's season.
All right, man. I like all the things you said today. You mentioned some really great things. I think a lot of people are going to take a lot of things from. Last thing, does your Florida Gators get to the SEC championship game?
Well, that's going to come down. That's going to, it's the reverse of me asking you if the Bulldogs
right.
I would say this, the last several years I was really expecting, and Georgia and Kirby Smart is just really doing well. What a great program. I would say this year, I think we're at that level. So I'm not going to say we're definitely going to beat Georgia, but I think Florida and Georgia and Florida is going to be the key game. You guys losing your quarterback, I think helps us a little bit, but I'm not close enough to know how well the other guys are doing. But I'm sure there's some great talent. But I think it'll be a pretty even match, and whoever gets that game is going to go.
Awesome. Well, Danny, man, I appreciate you taking the time to join the Triple Threat podcast, man. From winning the Heisman back in '96 to being a stand-up guy who was doing a lot of great things in the community, helping a lot of great people. I commend you, and I thank you again for joining us today, man. And stay safe down there in Florida, man, and keep everybody healthy, bro.
Thanks, DJ. Keep up the good work. God bless you, my friend.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, bye-bye.
Man, what a great day we had today talking to my man Danny Wuerffel. I told you he was going to be legendary, talking to a Heisman Trophy winner, and then all the great things he's doing outside the game of sports with life, man. This has been a great day on the Triple Threat podcast. Continue to subscribe. Continue to tell somebody. Continue to listen. We appreciate everybody who is joining us today, and we look forward to catching you guys next week. For my man Scotty D, I'm DJ Shockley. We'll see you next week. Doses.